My name is Tara Bloom, and Seattle smells like wet concrete and burnt espresso when your life collapses. It was a Tuesday in late October, the kind where the sky hangs low and gray like a dropped ceiling, and my umbrella was losing a quiet battle with the wind. I was 26, a PR strategist with a clean case roster, a few splashy wins, and one very large client whose name sat heavy on my tongue like a secret. They made apps that turned people into data points. They wanted to be beloved. They hired me to make it so. I'd pitched a campaign that wrapped their product in community, charity, and real faces. We set up pop-ups across Capitol Hill, partnered with local shelters, built a story about technology as a neighbor, not a billboard. 6 weeks later, the numbers were Sunlight mentions up 340%, sentiment skewing positive for the first time, and earned media outpacing paid by 10 to 1. Crush it, my contact, Ian, had grinned on the kickoff call. Crushed. I'd answered on the final one, smile tucked into the corner of my mouth, already drafting the invoice in my head. Then the email hit. Subject: campaign review, Tara. Will be unable to remit payment pending legal review. Early indicators suggest campaign underperformed. There are concerns about misrepresentation of key deliverables. Best, Ian. Underperformed. Concerns. I read it standing in the doorway of my Pioneer Square office, rain needling the threshold, and for a second, just a clean, terrible second, I forgot how to swallow. I called him. He didn't pick up. I called again. On the third ring. Hey Tara. Like we were friends. What is this? I said, voice too calm for how my ribs felt. Underperformed how? The KPIs were met. We hit above forecast on 3. He sighed like he was tired of me. Leadership thinks the sentiment analysis is inflated. There's chatter about you doing the inflating. The accusation hung there, sticky, absurd. Ian, you have access to the dashboard. It's third-party verified. I'm just the messenger, he said, and the sound of a keyboard clacked in the background. Legal will be in touch. In touch about what? Not paying me? Silence. Then a softened, yeah. I stared at the wet footprint my boot was bleeding onto the office rug. Don't do this, I said. Hands are tied, he said, and hung up. I lowered the phone slowly, like it was a weapon I'd agreed to set down, and felt the tremor come for me tiny, full body, like static. I sat on the edge of my desk, not moving, while my heartbeat tried to leave my mouth. Okay, I whispered to nobody. Okay. My office looked suddenly like a set, a place someone else had built to suggest, girl boss, plants thriving under a cheap grow light. A framed cover of PR Week with a yellow sticky note on the glass, someday, TB. The corkboard grid of press hits, color-coded with thread. Underperformed. Misrepresentation. I'd been called a lot of things in this industry. Too young. Too independent. Too bold about fees. But never a liar. I opened my laptop and pulled up the dashboard, fingers still shaking, numbers held. Spikes matched to moments, a wave of local coverage after the shelter partnership, a national pop when a B-list celebrity shared a story I ghost-wrote for the CEO. I clicked open the sentiment analysis export and ran it again. Green, 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 the door snicked, and Maya leaned in. Maya was my assistant, a UW grad with eyeliner sharp enough to cut feelings. You good? She asked, reading my face like a headline. Define good, I said, and turned the screen so she could see. She scanned, brows knitting. They're balking? Claiming underperformance. On what planet? The one where money looks better in their account than in mine. Maya shut the door behind her and crossed the room. Do you want me to pull quotes from the coverage? We could build a fast rebuttal. I want to do violence to the concept of professional decorum, I said. But I nodded. Pull them, and flag any mentions where we tied product to the charity angle. She crouched by my side, like a teammate in a huddle. You didn't do anything wrong. I know, I said. And then, quieter. The legal email arrived by noon, crisp as a white shirt. I read it twice, once with my jaw, and once with my eyes. Dear Miss Bloom, upon internal review, it has come to our attention that several deliverables were either not achieved or were reported with misleading metrics. As such, per Section 4B of our agreement, we are withholding final payment pending investigation. Please preserve all communications. Section 4B was a clause nobody read until they were bleeding. It was vague and sharp at the same time. I wrote back. Per the same section, I request specifics. Please provide any evidence you believe shows misreporting. As you know, reporting was conducted via independent third-party platforms, to which you had full, continuous access. I hovered over send, then added, alleging misrepresentation without basis is defamatory. I trust that isn't your intention. It felt good to type, even if it didn't help. Sometimes, the only weapon you have is the shape of your sentences. Maya laid a stack of printed clippings on my desk like a poker hand. Top 10, she said, quotes highlighted. Also, I pulled comments from the nonprofit partner's Instagram people saying they downloaded the app because of the event. I flipped through, and for a moment, the clench in my chest eased. People smiling under string lights. A staffer crying in a video because of volunteer turnout. A local anchor saying the company stepped up. There is something obscene in feeling proud and powerless at the same time. My phone buzzed again. A new email. Subject line. Invoice dispute final. Notice. Final. It was the number that did it. The word dug under my fingernail. I pictured rent. I pictured the subcontractors I'd brought in, the videographer who'd stayed late for B-roll, the copywriter who charged less because she liked me. I pictured the neon bloom sign I'd bought for the wall, and then never plugged in because it felt like tempting fate. Let me call Priya, Maya said, already dialing. Priya was my favorite attorney in a city full of bored ones. She'd once argued me out of a bad contract using nothing but controlled rage and a bulleted list. The call went to voicemail. I stared at the window. Rain like TV static, smearing the city into a gray watercolor. When you get pushed in my line of work, you learn two reflexes. First, you check the facts. Second, you manage the narrative. I opened a blank document and typed, Case Study, the Neighbor Campaign. I set the font to something clean. I wrote the date in the corner, because dates matter when you're telling the truth. Then I stopped. I'd never published a case study with data that precise. Not because I couldn't, but because it felt like stripping the paint. Clients liked the illusion that success arrived via magic words and my allegedly witchy intuition. But if a giant company was going to call me a liar to save a line item, then fine. I would show my work like a kid with chalk on her hands. Are we doing this? Maya asked, eyes bright, a little feral. Maybe, I said. Or maybe we start with leverage. What do you call a detailed, transparent case study if not leverage? Dynamite, I said, and I want to make sure we're standing far enough back. The door chimed delivery. A bike messenger, dripping, held out a flat envelope with my name in careful print. No return address. For me? I said, because I couldn't help it. He shrugged, teeth chattering. Yep. I used a letter opener, shaped like a lightning bolt. Inside, paper-clipped printouts of graphs I recognized, and one I didn't. The familiar ones were my dashboard exports, but edited. The greens desaturated. Peaks shaved off like someone had pressed down with a thumb. The unfamiliar graph was a spreadsheet chart with a header that made my skin go cold. Sentiment adjustment internal. Maya leaned in so close her hair brushed the paper. What is this? It looks like... I swallowed, mouth suddenly dry. It looks like internal modeling. For what? For lowering the numbers, I said, voice barely above a breath. There was a sticky note on the last page, square and yellow, nothing but a short line in ballpoint ink. They're going to bury you with this. Don't let them. I looked at Maya. She looked at me. The city hummed under the rain like a secret generator. Someone inside that company had mailed me proof. Or bait. Or both. The phone rang again. Not Priya. Not Ian. Blocked number. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times, the sound sharp, my heart sharper. On the 4th, I picked up. Hello? A breath. A voice I didn't recognize. Low and quick. If you want to get paid, the voice said, you need to publish before Friday. And you need to include the screenshots I sent. Check your email in 5. The line clicked dead. I stared at the receiver like it might sprout teeth. Maya's eyebrows climbed into a new zip code. Who was that? I don't know, I said, and felt something inside me shift, like a floorboard settling. Outside, the rain sharpened, and for the first time all day, I felt something like heat. I think, I said, turning back to the blank case study and the envelope of doctored graphs. We just got our story. My laptop pinged a new message sliding into my inbox with no subject and a single attachment named Kept, Promise, Zip. My cursor hovered. I clicked. The progress bar crawled to life, blue inching across gray, and my reflection in the screen looked like a stranger who had finally remembered her name. Then the file opened, and the zip file opened like a wound slowly, messily, one layer at a time. Inside, screenshots, message threads, export logs, and a folder called Draft Slides, Internal Review. Maya leaned over my shoulder, her breath caught halfway between curiosity and dread. What are we looking at? I clicked the folder. 12 slides. All time-stamped 3 days ago. The title slide read, Q4 PR Outcome Summary, Adjusted Metrics for Executive Review. Adjusted. That word again. A polite corporate synonym for manipulated. The next slide hit like a punch. A bar graph, our campaign's engagement metrics side by side with something labeled adjusted for consistency. They'd cut our reach numbers by 42%. Flattened sentiment, from 87% positive to 49%. Even removed mentions from verified outlets. This is fraud, Maya whispered. I nodded, slow. And defamation. Each slide sank deeper. Email snippets. Internal notes like, leadership prefers to pivot narrative external consultant underdelivered. Maintain internal consistency with new projections for future campaigns. Bloom's final invoice remains disputed until PR optics resolved. I scrolled, and the last slide froze my breath. It was my photo, a headshot from my own website. Beneath it, in bold, strategic direction deviated non-compliant messaging. They'd rewritten my success as sabotage. Maya exhaled through her teeth. Holy, they're framing you. I closed the laptop like it might bite me. My fingers were cold, but my chest felt hot, full of something sharp and ancient. Okay, I said, voice steady in a way that didn't feel human. We play chess now. That night, I couldn't sleep. The rain outside my apartment was softer than usual, more like static from an old TV. I sat cross-legged on the couch, laptop open, cursor blinking on a new document titled, The Truth, How They Tried to Silence Me. It sounded melodramatic, even to me. But melodrama, when true, is just injustice with better lighting. I deleted the title. Renamed it Transparency Report, The Neighbor Campaign. Professional. Precise. The kind of thing journalists love and lawyers hate. Every paragraph I wrote felt like loading a weapon I didn't yet know how to fire. Campaign objectives. Timeline. Results. Screenshots of the original dashboard, time-stamped before edits. Direct quotes from coverage. Receipts. All of them. Halfway through, I stopped typing. The weight of it hit me, the sheer audacity of what I was doing. If I published this, I'd torch my relationship with one of Seattle's biggest tech firms. But if I didn't, they'd burn me anyway. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. You're doing the right thing. They did this before. Check 2019 internal docs hidden on Drive. I froze. I hadn't told anyone except Maya. And this wasn't her number. Maya? I texted. No response. The message bubble stayed gray, like a ghost refusing to leave. By morning, caffeine had replaced sleep, and paranoia had replaced fear. Maya came in early, hair damp from drizzle, holding 2 coffees and a thumb drive. I backed up the evidence on this, she said, in case things get weird. They're already weird, I said, taking the cup. We sat across from each other, laptops glowing, rain tracing lines down the office windows like slow tears. So, Maya said, what's the plan? You publish the case study, expose them, industry rallies, clean win. Maybe. I leaned back. Or they sue me into dust and rewrite the story anyway. Then we make sure they can't. Her tone had changed lower, meaner. I used to date someone in compliance over there, she said. He mentioned how they bury data discrepancies, code words, hidden spreadsheets. You think he'd talk? He'd gloat, she said. And maybe leak. For a second, I just looked at her. You're terrifying, I said. I learned from the best. We met him that afternoon in a cafe that smelled like sugar and secrets. He showed up wearing a Patagonia vest, the unofficial armor of Seattle Tech. His name's Adam, Maya whispered. Don't judge. I smiled politely as he sat down. Adam, I said. Thanks for meeting. He grinned, all practiced charm. Maya said you're having a data disagreement? That's one way to put it. He leaned closer. You're not recording this, right? Not unless you are, he laughed. Then he lowered his voice. They've been doing this for years. Adjusting post-campaign metrics to match investor expectations. Makes everyone look stable. Everyone except the people they screw over. He shrugged. Collateral damage. I slid the printed slides across the table. Recognize these? His eyes flicked over them. Then something changed. He didn't look surprised. He looked nervous. Where did you get this? Anonymous delivery, I said. He hesitated, glancing around. You shouldn't have this. They monitor leaks. Seriously, Tara, you could get blacklisted. Already am, I said. He sighed. Look, if you're smart, you'll delete everything and walk away. Not my style. Adam ran a hand through his hair, then finally muttered, check the drive named Sunset Variants. That's where they hide the real metrics. And if anyone asks, you didn't hear it from me. He stood before I could thank him, leaving his coffee untouched. Back at the office, Maya and I dove in. The drive wasn't easy to find. It was buried under layers of shared folders, permissions, and file aliases. But at 6:13 p.m., we hit gold. Found it, she said, pointing. Sunset. Variants. XLSX. Inside, multiple campaign names, some I recognized, others not. Every one had two columns, public reported and internal actual. And under the neighbor campaign, a gap wide enough to swallow a career. Holy hell, I whispered. They're falsifying results for every contractor. This isn't just about your invoice, Maya said. This is systemic fraud. I took a breath that felt like standing on a ledge. If we leak this, we're not just burning bridges, we're burning the entire pier. Then light the match, she said. But the universe has a cruel sense of timing. At 7:02 p.m., my inbox lit up. From ENT. Subject. Urgent cease and desist incoming. Tara, I'm warning you as a friend. Delete everything. They know you have the files. Legal's drafting papers tonight. This is bigger than you think. I stared at the message until the words blurred. He wasn't bluffing. He was protecting himself. I felt my pulse in my ears, steady as a drumbeat. Maya's phone buzzed next notification from social media. She gasped. Tara, look. My name was trending. Number, Bloom fraud. Someone had leaked their version of the story first. Headlines were already popping up on Twitter and Reddit threads. Seattle PR strategist, accused of data manipulation. Exclusive. Insider claims Bloom fabricated results. They'd flipped the narrative. Faster than I thought possible. The first comment under the top post. She's toast. Classic spin doctor. I felt the room tilt. The rain outside sounded like applause. Maya's hand landed on my shoulder, grounding me. They moved first, she said. What do we do? I swallowed hard. We move louder. I opened the case study draft, fingers trembling but certain. I dragged the internal evidence into the file, every screenshot, every log, every timestamp. Then I uploaded it to Medium. The cursor hovered over publish. Maya watched me. Tara, if I post this, I said, there's no coming back. She didn't blink. Then don't come back, go forward. I clicked. The screen froze for a second, then refreshed. Your story is live. And in that instant, before the lawyers, before the headlines, before the world decided what it thought of me, I felt weightless. Then my phone rang. Unknown number again. I answered. A voice, same as before. You move too fast, it said. They know it came from me. A pause. You need to leave your office. Now, the line went dead. Outside, headlights cut through the rain. A black SUV idled at the curb. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just a PR war. It was personal. The SUV's headlights were steady, unblinking, like eyes that didn't have to blink. It sat half a block down from my office, engine humming low enough that I could feel it through the floorboards. Maya was already standing, coat half on. What did they say? They know who leaked the files, I said, and whoever that voice is, he thinks they're coming here. Coming here, she repeated. For what? I didn't answer. I didn't want to say it out loud, didn't want to make it real. The rain had turned heavy again, the kind that makes the whole city sound like static. Every flash of headlights outside made the walls pulse faintly. Maya grabbed the thumb drive from the desk, shoved it into her pocket. Okay, we go. Now. We killed the lights, locked the door, and slipped down the back stairwell. The air smelled like rust and wet paper. Halfway down, I heard its tires crunching over puddles, slow, deliberate. When we reached the street, I peeked around the corner. The SUV was gone, or maybe it was never there. We ended up at Maya's apartment in Fremont, a small second-story space filled with plants and half-finished canvases. The TV was muted, but the news crawl was enough. Viral scandal. Seattle PR strategist accused of data fraud. My photo again. Same headshot they'd used in the company slide deck. It looked wrong now, like it belonged to someone naive. They're everywhere already, Maya said, pacing. Reddit, LinkedIn, even TikTok. There's a video using your campaign footage with the caption, "Fake good deeds." It's getting traction. How bad? She hesitated. 500,000 views. Maybe more. I sat down, knees suddenly weak. That was fast. Too fast, she said. They prepped this. Had everything ready before your post even went live, which meant they'd known what I was going to do. I opened my laptop, logged into the analytics for my Medium post. It was blowing up 2 shares in the thousands, comments climbing by the minute. Half supportive, half vicious. Corporate gaslighting at its finest. She's just mad she got caught. Go queen, expose them. Sure, blame the big bad tech company. The internet wasn't a jury. It was a mob. And I was standing in the middle of the square. Then an email notification. From press@seattleledger.com. Subject: comment request allegations against Bloom. They wanted a statement. And I knew that this was the moment where you either take control of the story or drown in it. I drafted fast, fingers shaking but steady enough to hit the right keys. The data I published is real. The company's internal records were manipulated to create the illusion of underperformance. I have receipts, and more are coming. I will not be silenced or intimidated. I sent it. Then I leaned back and stared at the rain running sideways down the window. Intimidated, I said aloud. What a stupid word. Why? Maya asked. Because it assumes you still have the option of walking away. She sat down beside me. You could let this die. Let people forget. I turned to her. Would you? She didn't answer. The next morning, the world felt quieter. That eerie kind of quiet that comes when everyone's waiting for the next headline. But my phone wasn't quiet. A voicemail. From Ian. Tara, listen to me. Don't talk to the press. Don't post again. You don't understand who's behind this. It's not just the company. It's investors. It's their partners. This whole campaign, yours got tangled in something bigger. Delete everything before it's too late. Click. I replayed it twice. Maya frowned. He sounds scared. He is scared, I said. That's what makes this worse. Because if Ian, always slick, always smug, was scared, then I wasn't just dealing with a PR cover-up. Someone higher up had something to lose. That night, I met Priya the lawyer in a dim bar downtown. The kind where everything smells faintly of bourbon and secrets. She was waiting with her laptop already open. Jesus, Tara, she said. You just declared war on a multi-million-dollar corporation. I didn't start the war. Maybe not, but you're winning the first battle. Your post's gone viral. I've had 3 journalists call me before I even got my drink. Then we push harder. She gave me a long look. You sure about that? You publish more, and they'll drag you through litigation hell. You'll lose clients. maybe even your business license. Then I'll build something else, I said. But I'm not letting them rewrite the truth, Priya sighed. Then let's at least make it survivable. She slid a document across the table. We file a counterclaim. Defamation. Breach of contract. You'll look proactive, not defensive. Will it work? Maybe, but if they think you're weak, they'll bury you. You have to stay louder, longer, smarter. When I got home, I found another email waiting. No sender listed, just a single line of text. You're close, but you're not seeing who's really in charge. And an attachment. A screenshot of a message thread labeled Board Review. The first line made my stomach twist. Let her take the fall, keeps the investors clean. And beneath it, a name I hadn't expected, one that made the room go still. Ian Thompson. He wasn't protecting me. He was protecting himself. The next morning, I called him. He didn't pick up, but I left a voicemail this time. Ian, I know about the board messages, the cover-up, the data falsification. You can either talk to me privately or I take everything public again. You have 12 hours. I hung up before my courage could melt. Then I opened the file again, looking at his name in that chat log. It wasn't just a betrayal, it was a signature. At 11:42 p.m., my phone rang. I'm not on a secure line, he said immediately. We shouldn't talk. Then hang up. He didn't. They're watching everything, Tara. My emails, my calls. They know I warned you. You sold me out, I said. I have proof. I didn't sell you out. I followed orders. From who? He hesitated. I could hear rain through the phone. Then he whispered. Her name's Vivian Harlow. She's not on any org chart. You won't find her in the company directory. She's the one who signs the real contracts. Why me? I asked. Why target me? Because you embarrassed them, he said. You made them look human, and human doesn't scale. The line went quiet for a moment. Then, I shouldn't have called. Don't. A loud noise, metal scraping, and the call cut out. I stared at the phone screen, my reflection trembling in the glass. Maya's voice came from behind me. What happened? I said slowly. Something just happened to Ian. Outside, sirens started wailing somewhere downtown. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just reputation warfare anymore. It was survival. When I opened my eyes, it was morning again, but it didn't feel like morning. It felt like aftermath. The news hit before the coffee did. Breaking. Tech executive found dead in apparent accident vehicle collision near Lake Union. The photo was grainy, taken through rain. The SUV looked familiar. Too familiar. Ian, I whispered. Maya turned from the TV, face pale. You think? I don't think, I said. I know. They'd called it an accident. But I knew better. Seattle doesn't eat people by accident. By noon, reporters were already connecting dots I hadn't meant for them to find. Somehow, they knew I'd spoken to Ian the night before he died. Somehow, they had my call logs. A journalist from the Seattle Ledger called. Her voice trembled like she was afraid of her own questions. Miss Bloom, sources say you were in contact with Mr. Thompson shortly before the crash. Would you like to comment? I could almost hear the hope in her tone, the hope that I'd say something explosive. I didn't. I have no comment about the accident, I said. But I do have evidence that may explain why he was afraid. Click. I hung up before she could thank me. Maya exhaled hard. You're playing with fire. I'm already burning. That night, I opened my laptop and started a new document. Title: Operation Smoke Signal. Not a press release, not a case study, a message. To the board. To Vivian Harlow. To whoever else thought they could bury me under the ashes of their lies. It started like this. When truth costs lives, silence is complicity. I attached screenshots, real ones this time, not doctored of the sunset variance data, the board messages, the internal fraud slides, everything. But I didn't hit publish, not yet. Because the voice on that blocked number, the one who'd sent me the first leak, had gone dark. And if Ian's death wasn't an accident, then maybe the voice had been silenced too. Around midnight, Maya's phone buzzed. She frowned, read the message, then passed it to me. Unknown number. You don't understand who Vivian works for. Don't post the second file. Second file? What second file? I asked. Maya shook her head. You think there's more? There's always more. By morning, I was running on caffeine and adrenaline. Priya called just after sunrise. You're not going to like this, she said. They filed an injunction. Against me? Against your post. They're claiming proprietary data exposure. If a judge agrees, everything you uploaded comes down. They're trying to erase me. Exactly. You've got 48 hours to respond. I laughed a short, tired sound. 48 hours to defend my own existence. Great. We met that afternoon in Priya's office. It smelled like ink, paper, and quiet panic. She slid a folder across the desk. I pulled the corporate structure for their holding group. It's messy. Shell companies, offshore accounts, nothing in the CEO's name. And Vivian? Doesn't exist on paper, Priya said. But there's one company that keeps showing up in Connections: Harlow Communications. Private, no website. But they're listed as a strategic advisory firm on at least 4 other tech projects in Seattle. So she's a fixer. More like a ghost with a Rolodex. When I left Priya's office, a man in a charcoal suit was waiting near the elevator. He smiled without warmth. Miss Bloom? I froze. Who's asking? Someone who thinks this has gone far enough. He handed me an envelope-heavy paper, embossed logo I didn't recognize. Then he walked away. Inside was a printed message. Cease all external communications regarding Harlow Communications or its affiliates. Your online activity is being monitored. Consider this your only warning. No signature. Maya read it twice. They're not even pretending anymore. Good, I said. Pretending was getting boring. That night, I met a journalist. Not the Ledger one this time. Someone from Exposed Northwest, an independent outlet known for digging into corporate corruption. Her name was Ray Park. Short hair, sharp eyes, no patience for PR spin. I've been following your posts, she said, sliding her recorder onto the table. You have proof? I have more than proof, I said. I have their playbook. She leaned in. And you're sure you want to go on record? If we run this story, you can't unlight that fuse. I smiled. Then, I guess we both like fireworks. We spent 3 hours talking about metrics, contracts, Vivian Harlow, Ian's mysterious accident. When Ray left, she said, if half of what you told me checks out, they're finished. I wanted to believe her. But the next morning, her article didn't go live. Her website was down, and her email bounced back. Server error, Maya said, staring at the screen. That's not a coincidence. Find her, I said. But Ray was gone. By evening, I knew what I had to do. If they could kill a journalist's story, erase a whistleblower, and make a man disappear, then the only safe place left for the truth was everywhere. Decentralized, permanent, unstoppable. I compressed every file, every message, every screenshot, and uploaded it to a dozen mirror links, encrypted, timed for release in 24 hours. If I didn't stop it, it would publish automatically. Maya watched as I typed the final command. You're really doing this. I don't see another choice. She swallowed. And if they come after you? They already have. At 2:14 a.m., my phone buzzed. A new message. No number, just coordinates. Somewhere on the outskirts of Seattle. And one more line. You want Vivian? Come get her. I looked at Maya. This might be a trap, she said. It's definitely a trap, I said. But it's also a chance. I closed my laptop, zipped my jacket, and stepped into the rain. The city lights blurred behind me as I drove north, the road slick and empty. And in my chest, something cold and bright flickered to life. A kind of courage I hadn't felt since before the first lie. When I reached the coordinates, it wasn't a warehouse or an office. It was a parking structure, half empty, echoing with rain. A single light flickered near the center, and under it, a woman, tall, impeccably dressed, gray suit, black heels, no umbrella. Miss Bloom, she said. I'm Vivian. Her voice was calm, controlled, the kind of calm that came from knowing she'd already won. I think you've caused enough chaos, don't you? She said. I took a step forward. Chaos is just truth that scares people. She smiled faintly. Then you must be terrified. The light above us buzzed, dimmed, and for a heartbeat, everything went black. When it flickered back on, Vivian was holding my phone. How did you? She tilted her head. You really shouldn't leave your devices unsecured, especially when you've scheduled something catastrophic. My blood went cold. She knew about the timed release. I can cancel it, she said. Right now. Walk away, and I'll make this disappear. You can start over. I stared at her. The rain dripped from her hair like silver. Disappearing isn't starting over, I said. Then, slowly, I smiled. Besides, you're too late. Vivian's expression faltered. What do you mean? I held up the second phone from my pocket, one she hadn't seen. The upload went out an hour ago. Her eyes widened. From somewhere behind us, my phone buzzed, notifications exploding. Number. The neighbor truth was trending. The files were public. And for the first time, Vivian Harlow looked afraid. Looks like you're out of spin, I said. But before I could move, before I could even breathe, headlights swept through the garage, two black SUVs rolling in fast. Vivian's voice was calm again. You should have taken the offer. I ran. Rain and sirens blurred together as I darted through the exit, lungs burning, the night erupting behind me and the sound of tires and shouts. Somewhere above the city, my story was spreading too fast to stop, too bright to hide. But as I disappeared into the rain, one thought burned louder than the rest. The truth was out. Now I just had to survive it. I don't remember the exact moment I stopped running, only the sound of my own heartbeat pounding louder than the rain. Seattle looked different that night, its skyline smudged by mist, the streets shimmering with neon and fear. I ducked into an alley behind a 24-hour diner, clutching my side, phone buzzing like a live wire in my pocket. The hashtags were everywhere now. Number the neighbor truth. Number Bloom leaks. Number who is Vivian Harlow. The story had exploded, and with it my anonymity. By dawn, the city was awake and divided. Half the internet was calling me a hero, the other half a fraud, a manipulator, a dangerous woman with a grudge. But the one thing no one could ignore were the files. Screenshots, invoices, emails, data models showing years of adjusted metrics. The truth was everywhere. And once truth goes viral, there's no putting it back in the box. I found refuge in a place only Maya knew, an old co-working loft that hadn't seen tenants since 2020. Dusty, half-lit, but quiet. Maya arrived an hour later, arms full of takeout and paranoia. You're trending worldwide, she said, setting down a paper bag. Half the major outlets picked it up overnight. CNN, Vice, The Post. Even Bloomberg. Any sign of Vivian? Maya shook her head. Gone dark. No press statements. No online trace. It's like she vanished. People like her don't vanish, I said. They pivot. My inbox was chaos: interview requests, legal threats, podcast invites, even a few death threats for balance. But one message stood out. From Ray Park. Subject: still here. Need to meet. I blinked. Ray's alive. Maya's eyes widened. Where? Pier 57, I said. 1 hour. The waterfront was slick with morning rain when I found Ray standing by the carousel, hood up, sunglasses on despite the gray. She looked tired. No, hunted. They took down my site, she said, deleted my backups, even froze my accounts. Vivian? Ray nodded. Or whoever's funding her. But your files, those saved me. Once they went public, I wasn't the only one talking anymore. What happens now? Now, she said, we make sure no one rewrites your story again. She handed me a flash drive. This is from a source inside Harlow Communications. It's not just data tampering, they've been laundering PR budgets through shell nonprofits. Laundering? Ray nodded grimly. Donations that never happened. Partnerships that were fake. All to make clients look generous. My stomach turned. It wasn't just fraud, it was theft disguised as goodwill. Back at the loft, Maya spread out the files like crime scene photos. Holy hell, she said softly. They made millions off this. More than that, I said. They built reputations. I looked at the fake charity names, digital kind, the humanity project, tech cares. All buzzwords, all fake. And one name stood out, bolded in the records. Bloom Social, Pilot Partner Initiative. My name, they'd used my campaign as the proof of concept for their laundering scheme. Maya's face went pale. They were never blaming you for failure. They were covering their own crimes. And suddenly, everything clicked into place. Ian's betrayal, Vivian's threats, the car accident. They hadn't needed me to fail. They needed me to disappear. We didn't sleep. We built timelines, cross-referenced donations, traced fake EINs. By midnight, I had a dossier thick enough to sink a yacht, and just one thought echoing in my head. If they could fake generosity, maybe I could make the truth just as loud. At 3:07 a.m., my phone lit up again. Unknown number. I answered before Maya could stop me. Tara Bloom, I said. Silence. Then a voice I recognized, low and smooth. Vivian. You think you've won, she said, but you've only opened a door you can't close. I'm not the one hiding behind shell companies and dead men. She laughed softly. You still think this is about you. You're a story, Tara. A tool. And soon, someone else will be writing your ending. The line went dead. By morning, the fallout had begun. The company that started it all, Beacon Link Technologies, issued a statement acknowledging discrepancies in reporting. Their CEO resigned within hours. The SEC announced an investigation, and a congressional subcommittee requested documents from Associated Communications contractors. In other words, they were digging. Maya read the headlines out loud. You did it, Tara. You burned them down. But I couldn't smile. Because fire doesn't care who started it, it just spreads. And in the middle of all the chaos, one name kept showing up. Harlow Communications. Their website, once blank, now had a single page. Integrity, influence, renewal. Under, new, management. And beneath that, Vivian's face, still smiling. That night, I met Ray again. We sat in her car overlooking Gasworks Park, the skyline glowing faintly across the lake. They're shifting the narrative, she said. Vivian's positioning herself as the whistleblower. She's claiming she uncovered the fraud and tried to stop it. I felt something inside me crack. She's stealing the truth again. Ray nodded. If you want to stop her, you'll have to prove she was behind the laundering herself. She'll bury me before that. Then we dig faster. She handed me another flash drive. Everything you need is on here, emails between Vivian and Beacon Link's CFO. It's enough to bring her down. But use it carefully. People are watching you now, Tara. When I got back to the loft, Maya was waiting. Her face was pale, her laptop screen brighter than usual. What's wrong? I asked. She turned it toward me. It was my Medium account. The post, the one that started everything, was gone. Deleted. I tried to log in. Password error. Then another. They wiped your account, Maya said. All your work, all your proof. Not all, I said quietly, holding up Ray's drive. But my voice shook. Because I knew what this meant. Vivian wasn't trying to silence me anymore. She was trying to replace me. And worse, she was good at it. The next morning, a headline hit every major outlet. Whistleblower Vivian Harlow exposes years of PR fraud. Former consultant implicated in misreporting scandal. My photo again, but this time under hers. They'd flipped the story. Again, Maya whispered. She's framing you as the fraud. And I realized Vivian wasn't afraid of exposure. She was using it, turning every lie into a ladder, every truth into a trap. I looked out the window at the wet city and said it out loud, mostly to myself. She wants me to disappear, so she can rewrite history. Maya turned toward me slowly. Then what do? I met her eyes. We tell a story she can't control. And for the first time, the fear in my chest started to harden into something else, something sharper. Revenge. By the time Vivian's whistleblower interviews hit cable news, I'd already stopped watching. It was the same performance, calm, poised, rehearsed. Her voice carried that practiced tremor that made people believe. We discovered inconsistencies within our client campaigns, she told the anchor. Unfortunately, one consultant manipulated data to appear more successful. Me. Her smile was soft, tragic. The kind you wear at funerals for people still breathing. Maya muted the TV. She's good. I hate how good she is. She's not good, I said. She's consistent. That's worse. Ray called 5 minutes later. She's spreading fast. Every outlet's repeating her version. You've got maybe 24 hours before you're a cautionary tale. Then we flip it back, I said. How? By doing what she can't. That night, I wrote my last story. I didn't post it on Medium. I didn't send it to journalists. I sent it to everyone. I built a simple web page, white background, black text, one line at the top. Here's the story no one was paid to tell. Then I uploaded everything: Vivian's emails, bank transfers, the fake charity accounts Ray uncovered. And at the bottom, a single video file. Vivian, Harlow, conference call. MP4. It was a recording from weeks earlier, one I hadn't even realized I had. A screen share from a debrief meeting. Vivian's voice, clear as glass. Delete the old metrics, shift the attribution. If Tara asks, tell her the dashboard glitched. We can't afford the optics. No editing, no spin, just her own words. I scheduled it to drop at noon the next day, auto-post to every social platform, mirrored on independent servers across 3 continents. Even if I vanished, it wouldn't. Maya watched as I hit schedule. This is it? She asked. This is everything, I said. The next morning, they came for me. 2 men in dark suits. Badges I didn't recognize. Miss Bloom, you're under investigation for data theft and corporate sabotage, one said. I almost laughed. You're early. They confiscated my laptop, my phone, even my notes. Maya filmed everything on hers until they turned and took that too, but they were too late. Because while they were walking me out in handcuffs, across the city, millions of people were watching the video I'd scheduled. Vivian's voice, her words, her lie. The neighbor truth was trending again, only this time, with her name on it. They questioned me for 14 hours. Lawyers, agents, corporate reps. Every question was a circle, every accusation a mirror. Did you fabricate evidence? No. Did you alter company files? No. Did you leak proprietary material? I leaked the truth. They didn't like that answer. But by the time they released me, everything had changed. Vivian's company's website was gone. Her name had been scrubbed from Beacon Link's press statements. And a dozen new whistleblowers had come forward, former employees, partners, interns, each with their own receipts. Ray texted me one sentence that night. The internet doesn't believe her anymore. When I finally got home, Maya was waiting with takeout and silence. You look terrible, she said softly. Good, I said. So do they. She smiled, small and tired. You did it, you know. Did what? Turn the whole thing around. They can't spin this now. You told the story first, last, and loudest. I looked out the window at the skyline. Gray, rain-smeared, defiant. Maybe, I said, but it cost everything. It's strange what people decide to remember. 3 months later, the story had moved on. Vivian Harlow was facing federal charges. Beacon Link was bankrupt. And me, well, somehow, I'd become a symbol. Every panel, every podcast, every think piece. The PR strategist who fought back. When whistleblowers fight spin with truth. Tara Bloom and the Age of Transparent Reputation. They called it Reputation Gold. It sounded shiny. But I knew what it was worth because I'd paid for it. One morning, I was invited to speak at a marketing ethics conference in Los Angeles. Keynote speaker. Standing ovation. Funny how fast villains turn into visionaries when the public gets bored. I talked about truth, about accountability, about the illusion of brand trust. And somewhere in the middle of it, I stopped reading my notes and said the only real thing that mattered. If your reputation depends on silence, it's not worth having. The room went still. Then applause. But afterward, in the quiet of the green room, I didn't feel triumphant, just empty. Because winning didn't feel like justice. It felt like survival with better lighting. Maya joined me after the conference. She'd started her own PR agency, small, scrappy, and honest by design. We called it NeighborWorks. a callback to the campaign that started it all. We built our brand around transparency, open results, live dashboards, no manipulation, and clients came. Not because we were perfect, but because we were real. Ray kept digging. Her expose on Harlow Communications won an investigative journalism award. She dedicated it to Ian. When I saw his name in print, I cried for the first time since it happened. Not because I forgave him, but because he'd tried, at the end, to make it right. Sometimes, late at night, I still get anonymous emails, links to buried documents, screenshots from people who say, "You inspired me to speak up." And every time, I think of Vivian's final words to me in that parking garage. "You're just a story." She was right, but what she never understood was this. When you tell your story yourself, no one can rewrite it. One rainy evening, exactly a year later, I walked past the old Beacon Link building. Empty. For lease. In the reflection of its dark windows, I saw my own face, older, harder, but still standing. The rain hit my jacket. The same sound it made that first night, the night everything fell apart. But this time, it didn't sound like static. It sounded like applause. I whispered to the glass. "You tried to bury me." Then I smiled. But I was the story all along. And with that, I turned and walked into the Seattle night, the city alive around me, the truth finally louder than the lies.